Good morning. Hi, can everyone hear me? So good morning. My name is Julia Day. I'm with the NPD group, and I'm here with Bruce Dodderer, and we are going to kind of take you on a journey of kind of what's happening in the market, snow sport trends, etc. So we're kind of going to get rolling here. So myself, Julia Day. This is in my glory days of skiing. And Bruce in his glory days, quite a difference there. So today what we're going to do is, I don't know, how many of you are familiar with NPD? Can you guys kind of, so about half the room. So just to, we're going to kind of give you like a little background on NPD. NPD is a global company that tracks retail sales and consumer research. And so we'll give you a little kind of background and then overview of the retail climate in the US overall. Then we're going to dive into snow. We're going to kind of dissect what's happening in the snow business. As you can see, we've left you cheat sheets there as well. And we're going to also kind of intersperse some not only category sales and deep dives, but we're going to show you some top sellers. We're going to go into outerwear and alpine skis, give you a dive into that, and then we'll wrap it up this morning. Before I even start, I think, is everyone aware of the NPD-SIA relationship? Yep. So this relationship, Colin, I think Colin's here. Colin, if you're here, can you wave? Okay, I can't see him if he's out there. But Maria, I know you're there. Maria, wave your hand. Find someone and Chris is there, I think. The lights are bright here. So find someone from SIA if you don't have the data. Have you guys received the top line data yet? So guys, show me. We got one person here. Mike. So anyway, so if you haven't gotten this data from SIA and you're an SIA member, you want to talk to SIA immediately afterwards. We've developed, SIA spent a lot of time developing this relationship with NPD and this deliverable for you so you can understand the retail sales numbers. So everything you're going to see today that has to do with snow, that's not at the brand or the item level, so not top selling styles or brands, but all of the retail sales numbers, what we call top line numbers, that's all available to you through SIA, the snow data. So what do we want you to take away? We're going to give you an overview. We're going to give you some deep dives into insights, and we really hope that that kind of gives you a perspective and really helps you look at the show as you walk around it the next 3 days a little bit differently. So first we're going to talk about the retail landscape. So as I said, NPD is a global company. We track retail sales and consumer behavior. We track retail sales across 30 different industries and 30 different countries. When you look at this and you say, let's look at NPD and what does NPD do? We track consumer products, beauty, technology, so TVs, toys, office supplies, books, etc. So when you're looking at this, NPD just doesn't track the sports business, which Bruce and I are with sports, and doesn't just track the snow business that we're going to look at here, but NPD's tracking a whole bunch of industries, a little over $2 trillion in retail sales. Now, what's this showing you up here? And I always say, what's the so what? Who cares? We're in the snow business. What does it matter? Well, I'd encourage you to look at the trends that NPD puts up on its website. Because what's happening and a lot of trends in other industries are things you're thinking about in your own business today. How's the consumer changing? How's buying behavior changing? What can we learn from other industries? So what are you seeing up here? Video games are up. They're up in double digits. Why? It's a product, new product. New product innovation came out. The industry, if I showed you this a year ago, it would have been at the bottom of the chart in declines. So what did a new product do? Growth. Small domestic appliances, what is that? Coffee makers, Instapot. If you own an Instapot, you know why that's up in growth. And beauty, selfies. So then there's a lot of subtext in all of these, but really that's what's driving. You see footwear also up there. Footwear, that's driven by sports footwear. But we'll look at that and really say, what does that mean? Is it sports performance or is it something else? So we look at this overall retail growth. Now, these are consumer products. This isn't consumer packaged goods, groceries, deodorant. We're not looking at that. We're looking at consumer product sales, whether it's headphones, LCD TVs, or snowboards. We look at this, the retail growth. This will kind of give you a history here. If you're looking at 2017 to 2018, those are kind of 12-month ending trends. You can see how this very much follows what we've seen in the snow industry and the sports industry. So we're looking at this overall aggregate of retail sales is up almost 3%. We look at online trends. So now we kind of said, let's take it to another level and look at these same industries, but through the lens of just e-commerce. When we look at this, the e-commerce business is up in double digits, 12.5%. And we're looking at this. What's interesting is beauty is leading the way in double digits, a 27% growth. What's interesting about that is this is relatively new for beauty. Beauty was late to the e-commerce party. So you can see as a relatively new industry, it's showing those really, really sharp growth curves. And so we look at e-commerce and we look at what's happened, the growth spurt there that we had as we saw, like when you're starting to look at this, you're seeing these new industries like beauty get into e-commerce sales. And so we kind of see this jump and then we see the leveling off, but we're still looking at an overall growth. So now we're kind of taking it down to the next level. We're taking it down to sports. So I'm going to kind of let Bruce, so he doesn't have to sit here the whole time, talk about, kind of walk you through the overall sports business. And this is, again, just giving you this bigger picture, and we're drilling down to snow.
Sure, thanks, Julia. So starting left to right there, obviously we're looking at growth in activewear. The athleisure trend continues to drive growth in activewear and apparel. And in footwear, it's not performance footwear, right? It's not running, basketball, or anything in the performance categories. It's the inspired by, so light running and fashion that is not necessarily intended for sport, but looks sporty. This next category, outdoor sports equipment, so your tents and all of your gear for camping and so forth, that's down 6%. Team sports equipment up 5%. That's been driven by changes to rules in Little League. So bats had a big changeover this summer. So there's big sales for team sports equipment. And then cycling and snow sports equipment kind of holding their own there at 1% and 2% growth.
Thanks, Bruce. Now this is something that Bruce puts together for us to look at, where he takes all the sports categories. I'm going to let you walk us through this. This is really interesting. And if you can't see on the screen, the top 3 are running-inspired footwear, non-wood bats, and outerwear. The 4th, active pants, and then golf balls. Now, this is absolute dollar growth. When you see those dollar figures, that is the amount of dollars added to that category in the last 12 months. Bruce,
yeah, and this just kind of shows the winning categories, right? How they stack up. Obviously, running-inspired footwear from Adidas and Nikes is above and beyond the category that's been showing growth for the last few years now. But you've also got stories like jackets, coats, and parkas, right? That's a big part of the snow industry, and we're seeing a lot of versatility, a lot of smaller brands growing there, driving that growth in jackets, coats, and parkas. And then active pants, again, that's the activewear movement. And with electric bicycles, that's obviously a growth category, infusing technology into recreation. So I know that there's not very many snow-specific categories in here, but we'd like to give you kind of a landscape, the context of what's growing across the retail landscape for sports and outdoor.
Thanks, Bruce. So running-inspired footwear, that's running light, not performance running. Wood bats, that is a rule change. Everyone had, if you've got a kid in Little League, you know you had to go buy a new bat this year. Outerwear, we're going to really show you some interesting things that are going on in there, and then athleisure. So that's kind of what's looking at the whole landscape. So Bruce, tell us about what we're seeing here are the 20 categories that lost the most amount of money. And I'm going to read you the 4 from the bottom. We'll start at the bottom. Basketball-inspired footwear, road running footwear, basketball footwear, and recreational kayaks.
Don't forget active turtlenecks.
Oh, I'm sorry. Active turtlenecks. I almost wore a turtleneck today. I guess I would have.
Yeah, again, performance is out right now, right? In terms of things coming out of the sporting goods industry. So kind of looking more of that crossover product that can take you both to the bar, to the trail, and back again.
So yeah, so the running performance is out, the running light or running inspired is in. So it's just a change in how consumers are really behaving. This is something that, what you're seeing in the past couple slides is something that even single clients don't get to see because we have to take data sets. We have to take all those different industries and put them together. So this is, again, this is dollar growth. This is the absolute dollar change at retail for these brands. Top brands, Adidas, Nike, Callaway, Patagonia, and Brooks. Bruce, you want to?
Yeah, so we've got a snow brand in there, or a brand that plays in snow in the top 5. That's really saying something, right? That Patagonia is sitting there at number 4. Going up against the likes of Nike and Adidas, so a lot of crossover again, doing, and again, they're only in the apparel category pretty much, where that growth is coming from. It's not like Adidas and Nike that are coming from a footwear and apparel and bags and so forth.
Yep. And then we've got Vans, which is a fashion trend. Ashley, do you have your Vans on today? Okay, so let's now take it one level deeper to the specialty stores. So we're going to look at bike specialty, outdoor specialty, and snow specialty to kind of give you a perspective. When we look at snow and we look at snow specialty, that last season was up 2%. How does that relate to the bike business and the outdoor business? So you see the outdoor business, hiking, camping, climbing, trail running, has been down. Bike specialty up 3%, and that's really driven by e-bikes, transit fitness bikes, lifestyle and leisure bikes. Mountain bikes. So really multi-use. So you start to hear that trend, that multi-use, that versatility really comes out.
Yeah, and just to point out here, NPD, we're tracking the snow business only from August to March. So this 2% growth is only 8 months out of the year. And putting it up against the likes of bike and outdoor specialty, it's a positive story, especially when we think about what happened last year in terms of weather and climate. And we're going to get to that pretty soon here, right, Julia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking at last snow season, so we're going to take you through what happened last year so that you can start to understand what's happened so far this year. So we look at the snow business, the 3 channels. There's snow specialty e-commerce, so that's your snow specialty stores e-commerce business. There's snow specialty stores, and then there's the chain stores. Chain stores would be anything sporting goods. That's really what we're talking. We're talking the chain stores. So we're looking at a $6 billion business that last season was up 2%. Bruce?
So that 2% is actually, when you think about what happened last year in terms of skier visits, and obviously that's dependent on the weather, it's a positive story. It's a situation where 2% is actually some good news. So skier visits down overall 3% across the country last year, the 3rd worst season in almost 2 decades from a snowfall perspective. And when you've got the Southeast as the winner for skier visits, you know there was a little imbalance there across the country for snowfall. So keep that in mind as we're looking at the data from last season. That 2% growth actually had several bright spots, which we'll dig into now. And again, here's just showing the breakout by weather, by region, that 7% decrease in the West. And this is just specialty sales right now, brick and mortar. Obviously really hampered overall growth. That's where obviously the majority of our sales come from. And we wanted to update this slide for this season through November, but we couldn't because the government was shut down. So we can't give you any really granular weather detail for the slides this year, but everybody knows it's white out there.
So we look at this, and we look at this last season, and what you're looking at, remember I described 3 channels. Snow specialty e-commerce, that's snow specialty, and then the snow specialty brick and mortar. So that's your specialty business right there. You have e-commerce that was up 8% and snow specialty overall up 1% to 2%. Snow chain, that's your sporting goods retailers. As you can see, if you see that drop there from the 15-16 season, that's when we had Sport Chalet and Sports Authority exit the market, and you can see the businesses stabilizing out there.
Yeah, and Julia, by channel there, it's another, again, a positive story. Even with the poor weather conditions, specialty didn't lose any ground, right? It maintained its position from last season or the season before. The snow chain, like you said, stabilized, and internet's going 8-9% growth year over year pretty consistently. So momentum growing there.
So we just kind of dissect the next level down. So what happened under the categories last season? Apparel, that's the growth driver there, with equipment overall being up 2%. We look at this, and then really where was that? So when we look at that, what happened in equipment and where were the biggest growths?
Yeah, so this is breaking down segments within the equipment category. So we're looking at year-to-year incremental growth for these segments. The biggest contributors to growth last season: AT equipment, boots, bindings, and skis. Snowboard equipment shared that growth, about $7 million as well, and then alpine equipment. The three images that you see there within those columns are the top sellers. Take a mental note of that, because we've got a similar story for this season.
And then we've got apparel here. So I don't think any surprise, but we're looking at outerwear and activewear were the two categories that really gained within apparel.
And from the pictures there, again, top sellers, not your technical ski jacket that's driving the growth, right? More versatility.
This is my favorite. I think this is what I say all day long, and you guys are probably saying this every day when snow is on the ground, sales are sound. So this is a look back. Bruce did this. It's a great perspective. So he took the snow coverage, the mean snow coverage, or the white bars, by month last season, and then the sales by month. So you can see that direct correlation. If we want to say, is there a direct correlation between snow on the ground and retail sales? We all know it. We all understand it. Here's an exact measurement of it. So what we come to this year, I don't think we even need to talk about the weather or the snow. I don't know how many people on your Facebook feed, but is there anybody on your Facebook feed that isn't posting like epic powder? Like how many epic... Have you had 3 to 4 good powder days already this, Bruce, 3 or 4? Like, again, epic season, so what's happening and really across the board. So when we're looking this is sales for this season, August 2018. Right now you're looking at through November 2018. You're seeing an increase in sales of 16%. We're going to pick this apart a little bit because that's great. This is sales through November, but there's some underlying drivers there for that overall 16%. We're just about to have, as soon as SIA gets back home from this show, they'll be sending you the December numbers, the numbers through December. So you'll be able to really look and say what's happened through December. But the reason I'm kind of saying let's pick this apart a little bit is Cyber Monday, the way the retail weeks work this year and the way the dates fell, is Cyber Monday is in November for the first time. So that 16% August through November growth is inflated. And if you look at this and you see this growth, the snow internet, you see that up 19%, and snow chain up 25%. Again, Cyber Monday's in there. So that's snow specialty, the internet sales. So you see what's looking at Cyber Monday within a month, comparing it to last year at the same time without it. And snow chain as well, where the sporting goods stores are sending us both their e-commerce sales and their brick and mortar together. So how do we kind of begin to decipher this? Snow Specialty, which we've taken the e-commerce out and put in Snow Internet, shows you that sales through November, where we don't have Cyber Monday sales, are up 4%. Bruce?
You got it. Good job.
So we look at this, what are the bright spots? We're looking at apparel, $1.7 billion in sales so far this season. How does that compare to last season? Now remember, we're looking at we've got that Cyber Monday, and so when we get December, it'll normalize it when we look at the season through December, but we still have a 23% growth in apparel and a 3% growth in equipment. And we look at the regions. So this shows you what the snow season looks like across the U.S. Midwest up, South up, and Northeast up. So we start to look at that healthy growth so far. And then where are the largest contributors so far this season? Bruce?
Yeah, again, very similar story to last season, except throw in helmets and goggles, right? That's kind of what you'd expect when the snow is falling. People are going to spend the money either at the resort or on their way up to the resort to get those accessories. So you've got that growth driver from accessories in addition to snowboard equipment and AT equipment. Again, these are top sellers within those categories, so not much change in terms of what's driving growth from a style perspective within these categories. And
so this is really interesting, and Bruce, can you kind of pick this apart for us?
Yeah, so you got some numbers going on here, but if you're not, hopefully you're not colorblind, and you can tell between the blue and the gray here. The blue is specialty, and specialty. So I'm looking at the line chart there. Specialty average sales prices of AT equipment have gone up about $100 over the last 2 seasons, while the unit sales of that category have kind of flattened out. Meanwhile, the average sales price for AT equipment in the internet channel has it's dropped, right? It's down by about $50, and the sales in that channel have increased. So if you're a specialty retailer, you might want to following this trend here to make sure that you're pricing product in this category appropriately. We know that AT is a big growth driver. It's not huge in terms of dollar volume, but it is bringing folks into the stores, especially in the West region. So we have more data like this from a sales price perspective, and if you're looking at price points and what to do to adjust in the rest of the season, come talk to us. It's just something to follow here. We thought this was interesting.
So this here, and I like it before you put the screening on here, but this is something that Bruce and I talk about a lot. So there's schools of thought that say the Olympics don't give snow sports the boost, and then there's other thoughts on this. So I'm gonna hand you the clicker and let Bruce and his deep thoughts on the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's debate here, but one thing, when we were running through the numbers and putting the presentation together, we noticed that there were a couple of categories that really saw some growth that were associated with gold medals for the U.S. in the Olympics. So there's 4 gold medals awarded in slopestyle and half pipe every year, or every Olympics. How many gold medals did the U.S. take home last year in those 2 disciplines? Anyone know? All 4, male, female, slopestyle, and half pipe. So we know that it's maybe not a direct correlation, but we're seeing that double-digit growth again for snowboard equipment in both units and dollars. So this isn't a pricing situation. This is a unit story in terms of snowboarding. So higher demand for snowboards in terms of dollars and units. And it's not only boards, it's boots and bindings as well. So again, a nice, healthy 3-year trend for the snowboard equipment category, year over year over year. So take it or leave it, but it's nice to kind of try to piece together a little bit of a story with the Olympics here. Let's dig a little bit deeper into that snowboard story. If we break it out by brand sales, we've seen that smaller brands are really starting to contribute to the growth in that snowboard equipment category. So on the left side is just snowboards. Brands outside the top 3, so 4 through 10, have contributed 50% of the growth year over year in snowboard equipment, or just snowboards in decks there. And this is all brands who have shown growth year over year. This season so far, we've seen over 20 brands show growth in snowboards. And on the right side, you can see that women's sales of snowboard equipment is outpacing men's. So something to keep in mind in terms of what you're bringing into the shop, or if you're a brand and you've got, you're smaller or focus on women, you've got some wind in your sails there.
And Bruce, we're not looking at a regional bias this year. I mean, yes, California has got epic snow, but this is across
the board.
Across the board.
Top sellers for snowboards. Like Julia said, we were going to throw some top sellers in there for you. It's nice to see more of a healthy mix in terms of a brand perspective here. You've got several brands represented in the top 10. And again, that 7% increase year over year. This is just snow specialty right now. So we've drilled down into that specialty channel. And then the other category where we took home a gold for the first time in the Olympics last year was Nordic skiing. And to me, this is really exciting. I'm for better or worse, a Nordork. So I get out there on the skinny skis and huff and puff. Full disclosure, my Halloween costume this year was Jessie Diggins. There have been no photos released of that, so you won't find anything online of that. But again, this is another fun story in terms of snowfall, right? When we're seeing snowfall in the Midwest, you see people out on Nordic skis, and it's a 30% growth so far for Nordic equipment. And then we dig a little bit deeper, and we see that Nordic touring side of the business is really healthy so far this season.
Yeah. And if you need a Halloween inspiration costume, talk to Bruce. Get him to show you this picture of him being Jessie.
Doesn't exist?
In there, but it was most exciting thing to happen to Nordic. Young, exciting, female, really exciting.
Yep. And kind of to finish off in terms of diving deeper a little bit into some of these growth drivers for this season, we're looking at insulated outerwear. Some interesting stories here for you. So what we can do with our data is we can start to break out sales by price band or price segment. And this slide, if you're going to focus on one thing, obviously look at those orange bars. And from a volume perspective, that $200 to $299 price band is the second largest in terms of volume, but it's contributing the most to growth this season. So this slide just kind of sets up the following two slides. We want to focus in on that $200 to $300 range to show you where the wins are. And then this is kind of, every slide deck likes to have a money slide. This might be one of the money slides.
Yeah, so this is, to me, this is really exciting because there's a lot going on in outerwear. It's not a mono story or a duo story. Really, when you look at outerwear, and this is snow specialty, so we're looking at snow specialty specifically, but even when we kind of pull up and take that 100,000-foot view and look at all outerwear sales in the U.S., there's a lot of stories there. There's the versatility. Really, that style driven by Patagonia, there's the versatility. There's taking a stand. So if we want to look at trends and we want to kind of say which brand, we get the brand at the top of the list that's really firmly planted that stake in the ground. Sustainability. So there's a number of sustainability stories here. And if we look at PrimaLoft. PrimaLoft came out with the first recyclable? Biodegradable, thank you. Biodegradable insulation. So we're starting to look at technology, performance, fabrics, styles, versatility. We're looking at Obermeyer. Obermeyer's got very strong sales growth, very classic, clean skiing style. Friend of mine from South Florida just texted me her new Obermeyer jacket that she bought. She was going skiing. Very, very proud of that. Look at the North Face. North Face has gone back to 1992 with the new retro color block collection. So we're seeing, it's not just one story there. You're looking at snowboard and 686 Burton. We're looking at that. There's a lot happening there. There's the aspect of women and really promoting women within the sport and within the business, and that doesn't fall on deaf ears when you look at consumers and shopping. Look at Cool. I kind of call that the outdoor meets workwear collection. And then you really kind of go that picture organic. You start to look at sustainable. You start to look at different fabrics, different materials. So, I hope that it makes you even look and walk the show with that new lens, because what's happening in sustainability, what's happening in performance fabrics, what's happening if we want to kind of say this is the technology of our sport, there's a lot of exciting things happening, and you can see that translated. It's not just a one brand story here.
And then if you're digging lower into that $200 to $300 price point, this slide just is meant to show that you can't lose if you've got a product in that $200 to $300 price point. Each one of these orange circles is an item, and you can see it's pretty evenly spread from $200 to $300 in terms of unit sales. So there's no one sub-price segment within that $200 to $300 range that's winning. It's a very hot category, very hot price band across the board. And then the last deep dive we're going to look at is alpine skis. So, this is one of the growth drivers, obviously, year over year for the snow sports industry, and we wanted to show you kind of the makeup and the landscape right now. So we can break our ski data into waist width, and here you've got basically across the board, all your different waist widths. The 91 to 100 millimeter waist width has grabbed or taken 5 points of dollar share over the last 2 seasons from the other waist widths. So this is a growth story within waist width sales for the skis. That 5 points of dollar share equates to $4 million. So we like to, when we talk about share, we like to kind of put a value on that to show you what that means so you can quantify it. But again, this is a versatile ski. It's going to be great, Northeast, Midwest, West. So again, this is one to watch. And if we rank our top selling skis, 60% of them are in that 90 to 100 waist width. And then one of the biggest stories that we've seen so far is the growth in women's alpine skis. Maybe this could have been in that Olympic boost section following the success of Mikaela Shiffrin, for instance, but we're seeing 21% dollar sales increase for women's skis over the last few seasons. And for the first time, and I asked Julia, she's been tracking snow data for a while, I asked her, has there ever been a number one ski that's a female ski? And she said she can't remember when there's been a number one female ski overall. So
yeah,
pretty big news.
I don't remember, but this is significant. So, we looked years ago when women's skis started to really show up, and now we're still seeing this continued growth. And we're looking, this is year over year growth that we're looking at.
And then here's your alpine skis top sellers. So you got your price point there all the way down the line, and then we've only seen about a 1% increase in specialty alpine ski sales, but again, we're not losing ground. We suspect that this is only going to increase during the season, that growth, once we start getting December, January sales into the data.
So you've got the top skis this season. The top ski is a woman's specific ski. So it's exciting, great to see, and great to see this growth across the board as the consumers change in this market and morph, and we move to it's I guess it's not. I heard somebody said this. I heard last night. It's not our father's ski business anymore. It's not that landscape anymore. The new consumers change, and this is really exciting to see.
And then just kind of going down the line, I think we have a couple other categories here of top sellers. Oh, that one.
Oh, So
move that one.
that's a teaser for you. So we moved, so I think you moved it back to the
To the
so if you
appendix.
want to see a couple other top sellers in your category that we didn't show, we moved it to the end.
Yeah,
So,
it's like a Netflix cliffhanger.
yeah,
You
so
gotta
you've
go to the
got
next episode.
to come find us afterwards. So kind of, we hope that this, took you through kind of what's happening, helped to get a handle on it, has given you a different perspective for the show. If you're not using the top line, the industry numbers that are available through SIA, please talk to SIA and get this. Kind of what are the bright spots? We're looking at a business that's up 16, 17%. Where's that going to land at the end of December? AT and snowboard equipment. If you don't have a women's plan, it's probably advisable. And then if we kind of look at this is an image here, and it's going to be a little bit fuzzy, but this is of this top line report. SIA took a lot of thought and care, and we really collaborated to say, how can we deliver you an Excel report that is very usable, that you can get to your categories, but you can also see the overall sales, that you can look at this and really begin to drill into it. So SIA, Bruce is also sending to SIA. He does a 9-minute kind of dig-in overview on this every month. So get that from SIA and listen to it, because it's not only how do you drill into it, but really his insights and what's happening in the marketplace. And so this is really where we kind of ask, what's the value of this data? And it can be extremely valuable. In 20 years of doing this, I was telling a story last night where years ago, I think just in a sidebar comment to the top line numbers, we said, notice that stretch pants are growing. Well, the president of that apparel company told all his reps, when you go out and you show the recommended assortment, put stretch pants in there. It was on trend. It was an emerging trend, and they were able to capitalize on that. That wasn't brand data. This is top-line industry data that was very, very helpful. As you kind of think about markets and emerging categories, what's the reality of it? Is backcountry skiing, it's got the biggest buzz, but what's that size? Is that where you want to be, where you want to play? What's happening with price points? Are price points going from here to here, or price points going from there to there? So really, and then where do you want to play? So this is extremely valuable information for your business. And some of the most brilliant things that I've seen done with data are really people looking at this and asking really the simplest questions. So we say, ask us. Come up and ask us afterwards. Ask us at the show. You can ask us more about SIA. Go to SIA and ask them for the reports. We do have, as we showed you top sellers, we do have brand and item level data that you can come to us directly for. But just keep asking those questions and enjoy the show the next 3 days. Oh, sorry. For more information, SIA, if you're a retailer and you don't get this data, or you do get this data and you're not using it, come talk to us. It's Todd Posley. Todd, can you raise your hand? And then if you are, I see Laura Ashley there. If you are a brand that's using the data, you probably are working with some of these guys. So, feel free to approach us. Feel free to agree with us or disagree with us or challenge us. That's what we're here for. So thank you, guys. Have a good show. Oh, do we have any questions? We have a couple of minutes for questions if you guys have questions. No? Answered them all. Ashley's holding up the sheet there. Yep, which is kind of your cheat sheet on sales. And guys, have a great trade show and the rest of the education sessions. Thank you.
Thanks.